So thank you again for being here. Um, Salamu alaikum. My name is Sahar Yarjani Moranovic. I use she or they pronouns. I'm the vice chair of the David Douglas School Board. I'm also a board member of CAIR Oregon. And I just want to appreciate you all being here today. We're going to have a few other speakers, and I will introduce them by name to start. And I will start off with my statement, and then speakers can also go ahead and introduce themselves if they want, with a little bit of background. And then we'll have a little bit of time for Q&A at the end as well. So thank you again. Our speakers today will be Nikenge Harmon Johnson, the President and CEO of Urban League, Nadia Hassan, Beaverton City Council member, and Nancy Hawk, the Executive Director of Basic Rights Oregon. So the call for forgiveness cannot be faster than the need for justice to be achieved. Contrary to his words in Monday's press conference, Mark Shull is not the victim here. When asked to say Black Lives Matter, he replied, all lives matter. He is continuing to perpetuate the same hate that is pervasive on his Facebook page. Just earlier today, Mark Shull said he fundamentally disagrees with Muslims and incorrectly and dangerously stated that the Muslim community believes in Sharia law over the US Constitution. True forgiveness comes with true repentance. Mark Shull has not even begun to adequately repent for the harm and damage he has done and continues to inflict on many different communities. He isn't sorry for what he said. He's sorry he was caught advocating for violence, including the extermination of Muslims. Shull has engaged in this xenophobic behavior publicly for years with pride. We stand with the marginalized, the organizations, the advocates, and the people calling for Mark Shull to resign. He has no business being a public servant. We call upon Oregonians to contact via phone or email the Clackamas County Commission and to give testimony at the Clackamas County Commission hearings in calling for his resignation. This campaign is far from over. The list of people and organizations calling for Mark Shull's resignation is only expanding by the day. This will not go away with a quick generic remark of regret. In addition, CAIR Oregon will be holding a conference on Islamophobia on March 13th to continue this important conversation with our communities on the systemic violence and prejudice perpetrated against Muslims and what it means to tackle it. One cannot erase years of dangerous and targeted bigotry in a few days. As Mark Shull and the community work on changing his views and coming to terms with the consequences of this hate, he is not fit to be in a position of power and representing the people of Clackamas County. Thank you so much. And next up, we have Nikenge Harmon Johnson, President and CEO of Urban League. Nikenge.
There we go. Hi there, are you able to hear me? Great, thank you. Yesterday, as a country, and in fact, folks around the world were able to celebrate the nonviolent transfer of power in one of the world's greatest democracies, the United States of America. And it was an exciting day for many. For me, there was some sadness, but much joy. I will tell you that the sadness came from the fact that I normally attend the inauguration. I was there 4 years ago. I was there 4 years before that. And going back to my time in undergrad, I've participated in inaugural activities in one form or another, and I'd expected to be there again this year. For me, it doesn't matter whether I voted for the victor, for the new president. What matters to me is my commitment to making my country a better place. And the inauguration is a way for me to say to myself, quite frankly, and to experience the joys of what this country means to me, what my work as a public servant means to me, and to be around, other people, most of whom are Americans, but sometimes not, because the inauguration of the President of the United States of America is a moment for many people to embrace the dream that is America. I share that with you in the context of this event today, where we talk about an elected official who wrote words in a public forum meant for his friends and members of the community to read and to learn from, words that were designed not to bring us together, not to help us embrace each other as neighbors, as friends, as citizens, as residents of this great state, but designed to be hurtful, designed to be intimidating, designed to make it more dangerous for people, many of whom he represents, to live in our community. And we've seen very recently, when a seditious, violent mob attacked the United States Capitol in an effort to overthrow our government, what words lead to. So I don't think there's anybody that we need to convince about the fact that this man should resign. He has shown himself through his own words, not just last summer when we were all struggling to get through the pandemic, not just in the spring, not just for that year and a half of his social media posts, but this week. He demonstrated that he is not fit at this time. He is not able, he is not willing to serve all of the people in Clackamas County. And that is what his job requires. My voice will not allow me to carry on for too long, but I do want to say, imagine being one of the 11 directors of a department in Clackamas County who has to report to him. Imagine if you're a young Muslim student who is seeking an internship and wants to work for a county commissioner. Well, I guess there's one less that you have a chance to work for now, isn't there? Imagine being a constituent who has to go to him seeking help with a problem that you would go to your county commissioner for. I've done it before. I imagine many of us have, and just as a resident of my county, has made it clear he's got no desire to serve certain people. And I also want to be clear about something else. We've talked a lot about the xenophobic comments that he's made. Beyond that, of course, he's also made bigoted comments. He's made racist comments. Imagine being a trans man working for Clackamas County. Imagine being a Black woman who has to go to his office seeking any amount of service. For that matter, think about the other elected officials, both on the county commission and state legislators, who have called for him to resign, who are supposed to work with him. How is that even possible? How is anyone supposed to take him seriously? Again, I'm preaching to the choir in large part, and I mean that includes the media, because how many newspapers now and editorial boards have called upon this man to resign? So y'all don't need to be convinced. You need to report the news, I suppose. The person that needs to be convinced, I guess, is the commissioner. But make no mistake about it, he needs to resign. There may be a path forward to him with his neighbors and his community for redemption and for learning. All of those things should and can happen. I believe that. But they should happen in his role as a private citizen, not an elected office representing Clackamas County. I'll stop there. Again, I should say, my name is Nakenge Harmon Johnson. I'm the Chief Executive of the Urban League of Portland. We serve all of Oregon and Southwest Washington with social services and public policy work. Before I pass it on, I think, Nancy, you may be who I'm passing it to.
Yes, thank you.
I will not be able to stay for the Q&A portion of our press event. I'm actually co-hosting a meeting on another virtual platform, but thank you to my colleagues for allowing me to join you this afternoon. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Nakenge. I can go ahead and start. Good afternoon. My name is Nancy Hawk. My pronouns are she and her. I am the Executive Director of Basic Rights Oregon, which is our statewide LGBTQ advocacy organization that works towards equality for all. So I identify as queer, as Muslim, as a mother, and as the daughter of immigrants. And when I read Commissioner Shull's racist, anti-immigrant, Islamophobic statements, they're shocking and violent and harmful on multiple levels, right? And he just didn't stop there. He also has made many horrendous transphobic comments that hurt so many people in our community. And he is taking aim at people who've experienced an epidemic of violence because of how they identify. And through his words, he's condoned this violence. And in many ways, it seems that Commissioner Shull was emboldened by the increase in white supremacist rhetoric that we've experienced over the past 4 years. But he admits in one of his many Islamophobic posts that he's been warning people about Islam for 35 years. And I don't believe a lifetime of hate and bigotry is erased by one afternoon of meeting with Muslim leaders. And while he gave at least some apology for his racist and Islamophobic comments, he has not apologized for his transphobic comments. And even if he did, it doesn't erase the pain and violence that he has sown as a result of his actions. And he's basically said to his constituents, who he took an oath to serve and protect, that he doesn't really represent them. And he doesn't care about their lives or safety or well-being. He didn't make just one objectionable passing comment. There's literally dozens of posts which are harmful to so many communities. We can't forgive what he did and won't forget what he did. He needs to resign, and I think everyone's made that clear. So we're asking him to resign, or that he needs to be removed from his position. He does not represent Clackamas County well. And it's way past time to go. We're way past a time when that kind of hate should never have been tolerated by any public official, but certainly not now. And we see what happens, right? That letting people with such public office leads to the violence that we saw at the Capitol on January 6th. And so I just feel like it's time for him to resign or be recalled or removed from office. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nancy. And finally, and certainly not least, we have Nadia Hassan, Beaverton City Council member.
Hello, everybody. My name is Nadia Hassan, and I serve here in Beaverton on the Beaverton City Council. I'm here today not just as an elected official, but as a mom of 3 children, a former public school teacher, a daughter of immigrant parents, a Muslim, and a community member committed to ensuring that we support and serve our communities. When I imagine what my friends in Clackamas County and throughout Oregon want in their elected officials, it's values that are inclusive, accepting, include integrity, vision, a desire for collaboration, a desire for partnership. When I first learned about Mark Shull, I was appalled. It is not unusual for an individual to hate Muslims, but to see documentation of his hate is traumatic, especially as I imagine raising my young children here in Oregon. When he says Islam is in total conflict with America, he's being divisive, he's spreading hate, and he's hurting our communities. While I'm aware of his apology to individuals within specific communities, it does not negate the damage that has been done with his statements. There is hurt and pain for Clackamas County staff. There is hurt and pain for communities that live in Clackamas County. Forgiveness is attainable, but it's a journey. I believe that if Mark Shull is truly sorry, he will resign and work towards repairing the relationships he has hurt, but it will start with his resignation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Nancy, Nadia, and Nikenge for being here. And thank you all. We have about 13 minutes here for any questions. Feel free to type it in the chat, or if you want to unmute, we can go from there. And I do have Nikenge's contact details if folks need any follow-up. Sam, I believe you were about to go ahead.
Yeah, I was curious. We've heard a lot of people kind of questioning, how we got here. How did we go through this entire electoral process without anybody you know, bringing this up. And first of all, and this isn't less of a question, more of a kind of inserting myself into the story. I've been covering I covered this race, and didn't, you know, see any of this, you know, coming. Didn't look for, you know, things on his personal Facebook page. And I guess part of that was at the beginning, I really had no idea that he would be able to win, to be quite honest. So partially, this is me saying, I feel partially responsible for not having dug deep enough. And I wanted to say that I guess part of the reason that we've been paying so much attention to this at Pamplin is because now we would like to be part of the solution instead of perpetuating a problem. So thank you for everything that you have said, and I'm glad to be here and hearing more about what you're doing on this. But at this point, I don't really have any other comment than to ask, like, how you feel about how the local media has played a part in, I guess, allowing this to slip through our democratic process. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, thank you so much. And I appreciate those words and thoughtfulness and being here and wanting to be part of this process. It is really disappointing that we've heard that the opponent's campaign was aware of some of these statements that were made and was, quote unquote, trying to run a clean campaign. And so they did not say anything, which I find very disappointing, because I do think it would have been different if these targeted remarks were, for example, against Christians or against Americans by an immigrant or anything else. It seems that a lot of the identities that were targeted are some of the most historically and currently marginalized and oppressed groups. And so it wasn't deemed important enough to come out with and call out real loud. And so it is disheartening that we are now in this position where he was just elected, and we are just now finding out from a very active community member on this happening. And we do really appreciate, you know, Pamplin and other media groups, as Nancy mentioned, are very much covering this now and speaking to it, and also really documenting statements that he continues to make that really are not making the situation any better. And he keeps doubling down on some very bigoted, targeted views.
I'll just add, you know, thank you, Sam, for your comments. But I think that for me, like, you know, there's other elected officials in our state who have very bigoted, hateful views, right? We have Representative Mike Neerman, who was a board member of Oregonians for Immigration Reform, which is considered a hate group by the Southern Poverty Law Center, who was letting in armed protesters on December 21st at the state capitol, right? And he's been, you know, people have known that, everybody knows that, and he's elected over and over again. So it's not like I feel like there's an agreement that people in elected office aren't affiliated with hate groups, you know? So it's actually heartening to hear you say that, you know, you feel like you have a part in it, because I do feel like there's, yeah, I don't feel like we've all agreed on that level of civility in the state.
I don't really have much to add. I mean, I appreciate you making the comment as if you're trying to take responsibility for not catching this. And I don't think that it's your fault, right? I think we're all responsible for educating ourselves. Having very recently gone through an election, it's a very complicated process. And there's a lot of stuff that I think our general people don't understand, right? So where you get your funding, where the political action committee funding comes from, who and this concept of buying, you know, elections. And so I think there's some conversations to really reimagine how you win, how you run for office, how you go through that process. If we really want to break down some of the barriers, and I don't know that we can fix those problems today, but I know many folks who stand alongside with all of us believe that we need to fix some of those systems and are committed to, and I hope we can continue to do that.
Thank you all very much for your comments. It's appreciated and informs our lens as we move forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Sam. We still have a few more minutes here. We do have a hard stop at 4:30 as folks have other things they have to get to, but we can take another question or two if there are any.
Sure. Ryan Hass, OPB. I have a question. So several county commissioners, and particularly County Commissioner Tootie Smith, have sort of said, yes, we condemn Mark Shull's remarks, but they seem somewhat resistant to this call for resignation. Have any folks from your community groups reached out to other counselors in Clackamas County to kind of urge this process to move forward? Or do you just have any sort of general comment on, how the county board and county leaders like Tootie Smith have approached this issue?
Excuse me. Thank you, Ryan. Yeah, it's interesting because the entire Clackamas County Commission Board voted on both censuring and calling on Mark Shull to resign. And Mark Shull himself voted on it and then said he won't resign, which, also makes me think of the resolution and how much weight it's supposed to hold. And, we were made aware, unfortunately, that there were attempts being made in the Clackamas County Budget Committee in order to strip Mark Shull of his compensation. He's being paid over $8,000 per month of taxpayer money with these kind of views. And Chairwoman Tootie Smith put a very quick stop to that and did not want to go any further, which is, again, disheartening. And so I just really hope that, other than just hearing statements of support, because there's a lot of media attention and community attention around this right now, to say that I agree with this, for then to also actually be some teeth to it and some action, and finding these ways like the budget committee was attempting to actually have Mark Shull face some consequences for all the harm that he has caused.
I'll just add, I mean, obviously it's disappointing to see folks that are not really taking this really seriously and pushing for action. And I think I would just ask all of you to keep covering this, right? So if you can keep it alive by making sure that we cover this information and say that this is not acceptable and that this is not okay, and not let this just kind of fall to the wayside, because the attention that, I want to give a really big shout out to all the folks who brought this forward, right? Finding and uncovering this and coming forward is it's a very scary thing to do. And some folks did that. So thank you for doing that. And what we need now is for us to continue to highlight it and continue to call it out and continue to say, this is what we want, this is what we demand. And I hope we keep doing that. And thank you to those folks who brought this, and thank you to the folks that helped organize this today as well.
Hey, I got a question real quick. This is Wright Gazra with K2. Commissioner Shull brings up his military past frequently when discussing his Facebook posts. I have not heard other service members blame Islamophobic views on military service overseas. I'm curious what you think of him continuing to excuse those comments because he served in Iraq and the Middle East.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Wright. It's alarming, to say the least. It's very scary, in fact. His opponent is also a veteran and has never used language like this. I know many, many veterans that are very respectful and do not use their military service as an excuse for holding bigoted views. It's scary to think that he is using the fact that he was overseas in that power position amongst Muslims as a reason to hate Muslims and call on a D-Day against Muslims, and how Muslims always deceive. Today, making comments about Sharia law. So I think it's frankly insulting to veterans, because many of our veterans, I think, very much disagree with using that kind of language to justify very bigoted views. It's disappointing.
I would just say, if anything, it's almost alarming to know that you could do this service, go abroad and come back, whether it was before or after or during, with those thoughts. I know, just like Sahar said, I know tons of people who have served and have come back and have not held those feelings. And so it's almost scary to imagine that you could go to these places and come back with those views. It just, when I think of the values that I think about, when I think about partnership and authenticity and what I want to see in our leaders, I also want to see empathy. And if you lack empathy and you lack the ability to empathize with people, you're not in a position of leadership, and you should not be in a position of leadership. So it's really alarming that that's happening, and I hope that we can help. I hope he resigns.
Yeah, thank you for the great question, right? And again, we hope that folks continue to cover this and, not let this just slip away, as there are a lot of hurt people and there are consequences to such words, as we have seen again and again, and most recently on January 6th. Words have power, especially from folks in positions of power. So if there are no other questions, I can give you back 30 seconds of your day. I want to thank you all again for being here. Again, we would love to have folks in Clackamas County, our constituents, to continue contacting the Clackamas County Commission, phone, email, public testimony, and calling this out and really showing that these kind of bigoted, xenophobic, transphobic, racist views are not welcome in our state and should not be something that our elected officials and folks in power hold. Thank you all so much.
Thanks.
Thank you all. Have a great day. Take care of yourselves. And thank you, Andrew, for ASL interpretation. Appreciate it. Thank you, folks.